Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first view and or listen of the day. Hope you guys are all doing fantastic on this Wednesday, and hope you're all having a fantastic day once again. All right. The BYU linebacking core has been, I think, an absolute revelation. It's crazy to think that we are back to where BYU was a season ago when I believe the season went off the rails. Remember, BYU traveled to Lawrence, Kansas, and I made that trek along with many of you out there to Lawrence to watch their first ever Big 12 game in program history. Well, a year and change later, BYU welcomes the Kansas Jayhawks to Provo, Utah this Saturday night. Remember, last year, there was a major injury. Ben Bywater runs off the field holding his shoulder, and who knew? Any of us who really knew that was going to essentially end what I believe the high water mark for BYU in 2023. Things kind of devolved from there. Now, he wasn't the only person that caused BYU's issues, but his injury and subsequent having to force him to retire as a BYU football player, brutal deal for the BYU Cougars. The nice part is this year, BYU has got three linebackers in particular who I think are absolutely killing it. And Justin Ena is a big reason why as their position coach. He also has taken on a bigger role with Jay Hill dealing with some of the lingering concerns with regards to his heart and the heart attack he suffered earlier this season. Well, he revealed that Justin Ena is essentially his, I don't mean this to be derogatory, messenger when it comes to halftime discussions. But without further ado, here's my conversation earlier this week with Justin Ena, BYU linebackers coach, because he had a lot to say about what he's doing to help the program and, more importantly, get his guys in the right mindset as they go off to face. They go off Saturday night, hopefully, when they take on the Kansas Jayhawks. The Utah game means a lot to a lot of guys in this football program, and I know you played in that game.
Yes.
What were your emotions after that all went down?
You know, it was a hard-fought battle. Mm-hmm. I think both sides really gave everything they got. And again, I don't remember many holy wars that ended in a blowout. So you knew it was going to be tough.
Yeah.
You knew you were going to get their best shot. We were going to give ours, and luckily we were able to become victorious and finish with 3 seconds left with that field goal. It was a big time.
I know as a defensive coach, you're sitting in the box. I know you're up in the box with
Yes.
Jay and everything. As you're watching that unfold, like, are you kind of waiting and just got all tense for the moment? Like, what was your emotions as that all kind of was going down?
You know, a lot of the time is just you're still prepping.
Okay, so
right?
you're still on your defensive mindset.
Yeah, so you're still thinking defensive mindset.
Okay.
I mean, you're watching the ball move and you're seeing some really good things occurring, and you're like, all right, let's just keep sustaining that drive, you know. But you're also making sure, like, if you score, all right, you better be ready for 2-minute offense. So
Sure.
you're thinking more defensively than anything else.
Okay.
Now, when they start eating the clock more, you know, now you can start turning to the offense and then special teams, and you start saying, all right, looks like we're going to be kicking a field goal, and then you know the setup, and then you're just watching to see that kick just come off that guy's Will's foot, and Will's tremendous.
Yeah.
What a great kick.
Well, I was gonna say, so it's all business until that kick essentially goes through.
Oh yes,
okay.
Oh yes. Hey, when it does go through, we're celebrating just as any fan would be in that crowd as well, though.
Got it. Now, obviously, these two programs are interconnected. I know you worked at Utah for a time. What's it like going from the player side of it to being on the coaching side of it?
You know, it is kind of strange. At first, when I made that transition, being a Cougar, an alum here, and then hiring up there to be a linebackers coach and a special teams coach, it was kind of rough at first, right?
Yeah.
But you also know, I mean, you have Kyle in there, you got Freddie, you got other guys. Kalani's done it. I mean, there's guys that have done
Jay's done this.
Yeah, and Jay's flipped vice versa on the other along with Sione. So it's a paycheck, and then it's also making sure that you're still doing all you can to make sure you get your wins for the team that you're coaching for. And so I love my time over at Utah. I learned from some of the best. I mean, Coach Whittingham is a linebacker expert, and I learned a ton from him that I keep on carrying to this day. And so it was a blessing for me. I talked to him before the game, and again, I just wanted to show him gratitude and said, Coach, I appreciate all you did for me, because he's done a lot for all of us.
Sure, yeah.
And so he's a hell of a coach. He's a great man, and I just wanted to make sure he knew that I was grateful for him.
Now, I learned something from Coordinator's Corner this week that Jay actually doesn't go down to the locker room at halftime, and I was surprised to hear him say that. But he said he sends you with instructions down there.
Yeah.
Is that like notes? He's like just written down, said, "Hey, take this with you."
No, he does. He does.
Okay.
So I take him down there. We meet together as a staff with Kalani.
Got it. Okay.
And we go through those, and then I don't want to step my overbounds, and then I just make sure that every position coach, I just relay what Jay tells me.
Got it. So you're passing those notes to those guys.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then we have some of the greatest assistant coaches in college football as well. So they know how to do their business, and we just make sure we get that point across. And however we express it might be different ways. Sione might be a little bit different than me, but it's a good thing.
Okay, so are these like handwritten, like he's writing this during the game, or is these like text messages?
No. These are handwritten.
Okay,
so he'll talk to me right before halftime, and then it'll be written down, and then I go down there. And it's not like anything like too mind-blowing, right?
Okay,
just make sure that you play assignment sound.
Sure.
I mean, the second quarter of last game was horrendous for us.
Yeah.
We played bad football. They scored 21 points. Yeah. And so I think it was just, hey, be assignment sound, go back to fundamentals, and just play harder and more sound, and you'll be fine.
I just have this idea of him like scribbling notes and like calling plays at the same time. It's just a baffling idea to me. But that's the mindset of a defensive coordinator. You have to be able to do multiple things all at once. You've been in that chair before.
Yeah, and Jay's the best I've ever been around.
Okay.
Jay does it the right way, and Jay's very, very calm too, which I love. And it's nice having him in the box. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he likes being in the box, but it's fun having him in there because I think half the time he calls me down too as well. So he calls it boring. I love being up there. It takes a little bit of that emotion away from me, which I love.
Okay.
He's probably a little bit more level-headed, so he probably can be down there and still make sure he calls it as smooth as possible. Mm-hmm. But I've learned a ton from him, not only down on the field like last year, but also up in the box this year.
Now, moving on to the field, I want to talk about your main three guys. Speaking of Harrison, Isaiah, and Jack, what has made them so effective as a trio out there?
They trust each other, and so it's always making sure that you do your 111th, right? And you bring everything together. And when you can really put them all in and have them kind of showcase their strengths and their weaknesses. And again, their strengths are really, really good. So you got really good speed by all three of them. But they're all so different in a lot of ways too. You got a 6'5" guy, you got a 6'2" guy, and you got a 6-footer. Yeah. And they all can run really, really well. Mm-hmm. But they're also made, interiorly, Harry's great because he's low leverage. He can make inside plays and he can bring his feet, but he can still track it from inside out. You have Glasker that can come off the edge like no other. And then you also have Jack that's probably one of the best pass rushers in the way he bends his hips. That's why I think we've done a pretty good job of making sure we got in the backfield with when we are blitzing.
Now, the Kansas game last year is the game you lost Ben Bywater. I think there were so many questions after you lost him going through last season, and even during this offseason, okay, who steps into his role? And Harrison, I think a lot of people are like, okay, we'll see what he can do, but he's made that position his own. What has caused him to be able to lock that down?
With Harry's a constant professional.
Okay.
He's a perfectionist in a lot of ways, and I just talked to him just today, and he's like, I wanted a better Tuesday. I said, dude, you're playing a really good offense that has triple option forms to it. Hey, you're doing pretty good. It's not ever going to be perfect. Yeah. And a lot of guys want it to be perfect, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's making sure you build until game day. And then game day, if you're grading out at 85, 90, 95%, you're doing a pretty good job, especially with this offense.
Coach Grimes was here. He's been here in 2 different stints. I know that he knows this offense. He's got institutional knowledge of BYU.
Yeah.
You looking forward to matching wits with him?
I really am. You see a lot of the flair. I know with A-Rod, with some of his stuff, you see the fly sweep. Mm-hmm. You see a lot of movements. You see a lot of people that are conflicted, right? Mm-hmm. So you'll have one of the part of the offensive line going this way, the other offensive line going the other way. You got a ball going and redirecting all this stuff. It's really good for us because we have to make sure that we're super disciplined with our eyes, complete eye control when we're doing the triple option part of it. But also there's enough counters. Mm-hmm. And then the back going opposite way as well. So we have to just make sure that we're assignment sound, that we do our job. And again, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors in front of us, right? Yeah. You got to decipher all of it, and then when the ball presents itself, you make the play.
You guys are one of the few teams Jalon Daniels actually played against last year due to his injuries. So does that help you have an idea of what you're going up against, having actually seen him in action?
He's a great quarterback, and not only as a runner, but he's a prolific passer.
Yes.
I mean, you see him over and over again hitting from the backside hash, a 15-yard out, all the way to the sideline on a rope.
Yeah.
And so he has that arm strength. He's a really, really good football player. And then he's also very calm. So you see the pocket presence of him. He's a lot like Noah Fafita. The way he moves in the pocket, he doesn't want to buy time. The one thing that he's a little bit different is he's faster. He'll take off on the run where Noah's thinking more pass first. So the way he's elusive in the pocket is awesome. But he's also a great runner when he decides to run the ball because he's a pure athlete.
Devin Neal, I think, is their now all-time leading rusher. He's kind of the complement.
Yeah.
Now, they got two really good running backs, but Neal's kind of the lead guy. What does that do to your linebackers, knowing that, okay, you got a running back who can take off on you, and these two running backs are going to bring it downhill on you all the time?
Well, that's when you go right back to assignment sound football, right? Okay. So you treat it kind of like triple option ball.
Got it, okay.
As much as you can.
Yeah.
You do your job. Again, you're always playing the dive to quarterback to pitch. And the phases are really, really good at what they do. Now, you still got your gap schemes, but it's always just making sure that you're doing your job.
There you go, Justin Ena, BYU linebackers coach, and it's cool to hear him talk about what he is doing to help this program, and more importantly, what he believes his players are capable of. But he knows the challenge. Jalon Daniels, Devin Neal, the offense for Kansas that carved BYU up good last year in Lawrence. Well, a lot of it's back together, if not the majority of it. So BYU is wary of what they're going into, but also I think that they're excited for some payback potential. Now, the good news, I will also add this, is out of practice yesterday. I did see our guy Connor Pay wearing cleats in pads practicing. Our boy is back and excited to see him back on the field this Saturday when BYU takes on the Jayhawks. But once again, a big thank you to Coach Ena for his comments, and it's cool to hear him talk about what he's doing at halftime as Jay Hill stays in the press box. He's helping out in that regard, but also coaching up a very, very talented linebacker core for the Cougars.